Wherever you are today, welcome to Mama G and Web3 on digital parenting. I'm here again with my daughter Esme, and we're talking about all things digital for new parents in particular, but it doesn't matter whether you're a parent of in between, teen, wherever you are on that journey. So Esme, you are now a parent of a 5-month-old.
Nearly, yeah.
Where is the time going? She is such a gorgeous chunk now. And we're just grabbing afternoon nap time while she is quiet to keep you up to date with all the things that we've been dealing with. And just to be honest, we've had a break. I have just turned 60, so that's a big milestone in my life. You turned 30, didn't you, last October? So we're kind of 30-year apart, two generations, 30 years on. And so this is now me coming to the end of my career. It's me looking at how I can serve in a way that makes sense to me, that builds on the things I've been interested in over the years and adds value to my personal family and also all of you. So this is what it is looking forward. There's so many voices out there talking about the digital pressures and difficulties and opportunities as well. So it's all going to be changing so fast in the next few years. Just finished reading The Metaverse, which is a bit of a thick book, and I will go way back to the beginning and start all over again, because these are concepts that I'm only just beginning to get my head around. What are you reading? Tell us in the comments below if you're reading anything that's challenging your thinking about what the future looks like. So I had a few questions prepared for my daughter today, and we're just going to dive straight in. And if you have things you want us to answer in future podcasts, just drop your questions below and we'll catch up with them. So, question for you, Esme.
Go ahead.
Do you already have any family rules about your restrictions or suggestions that you would put around guidance for the use of screens, phones in your home already? So I'll say that again for everyone. Do you, and maybe do you think about what you're doing now? Do you have any rules already that you have as an agreement between you and your partner, your children, the whole family? Is there a guideline that's been set down for you to agree to that you will all hold each other accountable to around the use of phones and screens? So far, what have you come up with, if anything?
I wouldn't say we've come up with rules per se, but we've got an understanding between us that we don't want to sit with the phone in front of her face.
Yeah.
So it becomes normality to her just to see a screen all the time. To try and keep that separate to when we're around her, because then she won't think it's normal to just sit there with your phone in your hand. And I think everyone in the family really feels the same way, so which is quite good, because at least they understand as well where we're coming from.
They, everyone in the wider family?
Yeah, like yourself, like
yeah,
Nick's mum and things like that. So at least there's an understanding there that we wouldn't want you to just, especially when you're spending time with her, just to have your phone there in front of her face.
Yeah, that's a common basic agreement and understanding now, which is out there in the research that's emerging. I just watched a TEDx talk by Dr. Charlotte Armitage, in which she summarised everything that came across in her book, The Zombie Generation. And as a mum of an 11-year-old at the moment, she's just going through this herself. So you're in a very privileged position, because this particular academic doctor, psychologist, already had introduced her baby that grew up with the introduction of smartphones and screens and iPads, etc., who's now 11. You have some of this prior information now already before those habits are falling into place. So I think that's a great head start, although we're now in a world where we're immersed in screens everywhere, far more than we were 10 years ago. At least you have an awareness, a consciousness that everywhere you go, you're thinking, is this appropriate? Is this the right kind of experience for my daughter? So you say you've had some kind of an agreement already. Is that something that's firm enough for you to feel that you can pull up one another if you're failing to do it?
Yeah, well, I do it anyway.
What do you do?
If I see Nick with Harmony just sat there on his phone, but she's sat watching him,
Yeah,
I'm like, Nick,
yeah.
move your phone out of the way. She's just watching what you're doing.
So you are still developing that awareness.
Yeah, but I think because you're so used to just doing it,
Yeah.
you forget that you're doing it.
Well, this is Charlotte Armitage's point. We are the role models. We are already ourselves quite addicted as adults. I know we are. I am far more than I was 5 years ago. So it's like anything. When you're a parent, there are some things you would love to do, but you have to hold back and set a different example, even if it's just until after they've gone to bed.
Yeah, I think I saw a video online the other day where this woman, when the kids come home from school, she'll put her phone upstairs, so it's just out of the way. So while she's spending time with the kids and stuff, she's not tempted to just pick it up and look at it.
Yeah.
And then, for example, when they're having a bit of their time, she'll go and look at it, reply to a notification, then put it back. And
Yeah.
then when they go to bed, obviously she's got time to do that. But then at least she's not constantly, oh, got a notification. Oh, I've got a notification.
And most of the time, they weren't worth the disruption of the flow of conversation to actually check on them, were they? Quite often they're just fashion adverts and scams and pop-ups of something you wouldn't even have been interested in. I think that this journey that you're embarking on has really been good for us. So I'm talking about myself and my husband, who is the stepfather in this family of Esme. And we've both gone far way down this line of being involved with our phones than we would have thought we would. And it's very timely for us to be able to think hard about how we will deal with this as well. Because there'll come a day when maybe you bring your daughter and she's in our home and we've got to maintain the same standards that you want for her when we're with her. And so I suppose my question is, how strict is that for you and for Nick? And how strict do you want that to be for other people who have a hand in her upbringing? Even, for instance, in 6 months' time, when you're looking at the possibility of hiring a childminder, are these things that you will want to discuss?
It's not something I've thought about too much as of yet, just because I've just been so much like in a bubble.
Yeah.
Of now.
Yes. Which is good.
But I don't mind her being watching things, but it needs to be in proportion kind of thing. So she's not just sat there all night watching TV or sat there all night watching a tablet.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I understand there's only so much stuff you can do, and then you might think, right, well, let me just play this video or let her watch this for a little bit.
Yeah.
To give you a bit of time to do what you need to do. That's fine.
I think the thinking is that we've always had televisions now, what, since the 60s in a regular household. And there's always a place to be able to offer something like a cartoon, a favourite character show, but have that as something which is rationed and which is valued and which has a really special prominence in the child's life. Maybe not so much as a reward, because then again it becomes so attached to behaviour and performance, but definitely as something that can be woven into a normal everyday life. But for somebody now who can watch back-to-back reels of endless fun and distraction and entertainment, How are you going to pull yourself up when you know you're just craving to have a chance to go and just lay on the bed for half an hour to doze or whatever it is that you really need to do and you can't get to? What are you going to be able to do to hold each other accountable so that that doesn't creep back in like any bad habit?
Just make sure you're doing things in quick times, like when she's having a nap or
Right. Yeah.
when she's in bed on a night time, or just go to another room, because there's two of us in the house. So
Mhm.
if you need a bit of time to do what you're doing, then there's
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
parent there. But I think especially at times like dinner time and things like that, then your phone should just be put away,
I want to bring that rule in.
because
Yeah.
it's the time where you sit around the table and talk about how your day's been and things like that.
Sure. That's really being shown to be an important part of a family life, is having conversations as you all come together after your independent days out to bring your news and your highlights, and you just have a handle on what's going on emotionally with each other. So you would miss all of that, wouldn't you? So I want to just say to any of you out there who are beginning to decide what is a rule that's absolutely cut and dried for your home, to have that conversation within the adults of that family, and then make sure that that is a conversation you can explain to the children in that family, the ones who are extended to that family, who are going to be relied upon to honor your standards and your principles, because that's what you do when you trust someone to another family or a grandparent. You expect those people to honor your ways of thinking and your standards and practices. So that has to be an obvious conversation, and I'm sure we need to have a more clear conversation ourselves about what we're going to do as an extended family. I know it's one for me to take away, it's one for Phil. We have habits that we really probably need to curb ourselves, even as responsible adults, never mind children. So let's move on, because that's a challenge to all of us. One that I think I want to say to everyone here, if you're going to go and put that on paper, if you like, or make a rule that will be important for your family, how are you going to get that to be easily remembered, referred to? Maybe you have some kind of sign language at the table between each other, if you can see one of you's failing and you don't want it to become an argument in front of your child. Is there some sort of sign language or eye movement that you could use that would say, you know what, we agreed, let's do it? So put your ideas down there. So we've decided then that you're going to have rules about screens actually in the physical face of your child as a baby.
Yeah, at the age she's now. Yeah.
And that will need updating as she gets older and older. So again, all of us, how do we review that, and when do we decide to do that, and how do we make sure that our rules are up to date? Because they will get pushed against, and the child will definitely test our rules, and if they're not relevant, they will find out they're not relevant, and you need to come up with something else. So another one then, if there are areas of agreement or disagreement between you already, what have they been, if any, about what you're facing in this area? Are there any differences of opinion at all?
In this area?
You know, what you would
No.
feel is appropriate to expose your baby to, and what he would feel is appropriate.
Not really at this point, because we both agreed not to do the screen thing in front, but I think he's more forgetful
Yeah.
than I am. So I feel like sometimes it's more me reminding him not to bring his phone in front of the face. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just habit at this point.
That's one thing then, anywhere within her range of vision. What about pings and notifications in the same room and distracting a conversation, or when she's falling asleep, possibly disrupting her falling asleep. Is that even, does it go to those lengths?
Well, when I'm putting her to sleep, I always put my phone on silent anyway.
Mhm.
And it's usually me that puts her to sleep because I'm still breastfeeding her. But if she's having a nap and things like that, we tend to put her in a different room anyway.
Right. Okay. A room without blue light, basically, and
Yeah,
notifications. Right. Okay. So there's no areas yet of any disagreement, you
No.
would say.
not yet.
That's amazing.
Not on that subject anyway.
Okay. Are we up for bringing them along when they happen?
Yeah,
So that for the benefit of everyone, we can discuss those.
yeah.
If there's anything you feel like is a point of strain or difference between you and your partner in terms of what that child in your life, again, whatever age, whatever stage, is beginning to be a point of division between you, let us know. Let us know, and we'll have that conversation. I'll be quite honest. I'm now a grandparent. My partner is already and was already a grandparent, but I think it's the first time I would say he's been a grandparent with this issue being so very obviously in our lives, and of course a step removed in a way as a stepfather, with maybe a different dynamic with my daughter than he would have had with his own, and maybe a less freedom to do what he feels like. I don't know. So it's a conversation. We've got very mixed families these days. We've got very different blends of family. And sometimes families are very good at owning their frustrations, and other times these things go under the surface and then explode with arguments and rows or resentments. We really don't want that, because again, those are feelings that are harmful for a child. We just had a notification, and that's just such a perfect example of how these things are so evident in everything we're doing. They can interrupt our work, they can interrupt conversations, our sleep. So there's another one. Do you have phones in your room, in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Because so many experts are now saying don't have them in your bedroom, have them downstairs, even locked away.
No.
So what's the
It's a bit
arguments
extreme, I
for
think.
keeping them in your room, by your bedside? What is the argument for that?
Because you never know who might who might be trying to contact you in an emergency or anything.
Is that your
Or if-
only phone?
Or if you needed a phone, if something happened in the house and someone was coming into your house and your phone's downstairs, you can't ring anyone.
Yeah, okay. So are there, this is old hat, really. I mean, we all know we've got settings that we can adapt and adjust to low lighting, and sounds notifications can be switched off, or we can put the phone on do not disturb. But the very fact of having the phone there, does it mean that when you wake up, you are obliged to look at it?
No,
You don't.
no.
So
If I want to look at it in the morning, I go pick it up and go to the toilet and look at it in the toilet, because Harmony's
because there's a
because
light.
she's still in bed with me, so
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want her to think that's the first thing I'm doing in the morning.
Right. So you're consciously already making decisions that she doesn't believe that the first thing you do when you wake and open your eyes is reach for your phone.
Yeah,
I mean, I do, and I'll tell you why, because I want to know what the time is, so I know whether I've had my medication too soon or too late for the next time. It's a simple, practical thing. But I will turn off the light the minute I've checked the time. I will not look, because I need my glasses on anyway to see anything other than the big numbers. That's a safeguard for me. So I just look at the time. That's it. I suppose you could say, well, why don't
Yeah,
you
I'll
just have a
check.
clock?
I'll tap the screen to see what time it is, but she won't see me do that.
Right.
And then if I want to use it, I'll just
So the idea of you having a phone is in case you need it in an emergency, or you need someone in an emergency. That's it.
Yeah, and sometimes I can use it if I'm awake in the night.
What would you do with that?
Pardon?
Why? What would you do?
It's just scroll on stuff.
There we go. There we go. I knew we'd get some scrolling out of you eventually. So, okay, what makes it so essential or attractive or important to be able to do that in the middle of the night?
I don't know. It's just habit, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all have this tendency to want to know, well, did that person get voted in overnight? Did that country have that military coup? Or did that person win the BAFTA? You know, what is it that you're left with hanging the night before? Really, do we need to know that in the middle of the night? What else could we do with that moment when we're lying wide awake? What else could we do with that time if we weren't reaching for our phone?
Oh, I wouldn't say read a book because you can't see it. Because it's too dark.
Kindles are good for that.
Yeah, I
Kindles
guess if
are
you
really,
like to read, that's a good thing to do.
Again, is that a screen or is that a book?
But it's still a screen, so
Yeah,
that's
we
the
could
difference.
have it on at a low light, and I think I would let that one pass. So yeah, what we're saying here is I'm a reader. I would be happily absorbed in a book if I was really struggling to sleep. So that would be my go-to, because then I don't need to switch on a light. Then I don't have to turn pages, make a noise. I can hold a Kindle at various angles without it being difficult to manage. What would your thing be? Would it be music with earbuds? Would it be just staying with your own thoughts, meditating, praying? What would it be? There are various things that you can do. I think it's a really great exercise to see if you can lie in bed in a dark room with nothing on and just see what happens.
To be honest, I do that most of the time.
What goes through your head?
I don't know. Nothing really. No, just things that I need to do.
Things you need to do?
Yeah.
Do you ever need to write them down?
No, I just think of, I'm just laid there thinking what I need to do tomorrow.
So it's useful.
Yeah, I guess so.
Processing time, which again is something we're losing the art of doing, because we get fed information all the time, but we don't process it very easily. And then some of the research is saying that children, especially who have stayed up too late or been exposed to so much of this bright light into their brain, have difficulty getting the right quality of sleep and the right amount of sleep, and then are spending their days in schooling exhausted, not concentrating, not learning very well either. We've only touched the surface. We've really only skimmed on the surface, but I think the key message today will be, whoever you are, however much you love your phone, and we all do really like the multifunctional things that they do, we love our phones, but whoever you are, whatever you're doing with your phone, isn't there a specific decision you can say, I'm ring fencing this activity. We're not doing it within this amount of time, or within that room, or within that space, or within that conversation, and stick to it. So I'm challenging you and myself today, and my mission to myself is to go away and say to Phil, how can we, as the older relatives in this family, set a great example and actually follow through on what we're saying is good for our granddaughter? Because if it's good for her, it's good for us.
Yeah.
And so is there anything that you're taking away that will definitely be established from this?
Just try, like, what? Just try just laying there maybe without my phone. Giving it a go.
See what comes.
See what comes.
Do you know, I have my richest, most fertile ideas waking up, and I think that's a lot to do with allowing the night to be quiet, still, empty, just receptive, and not constantly curious and tempted to look into this little mine of information that's not really needed overnight. So with that, I'm going to say tune in again next time for our next conversation. I will start reading some material as well, just to put it your way, not always in conversation, but as often as I can be. And if you want to see anything in particular, say my conversations with other people in this specific family, how we've done with our goal setting, whether there's been any hitches, if we've had any rows, let's see what happens. Tune in again, and remember, the next time the Zoom is issued, the Eventbrite call that's on the Zoom link, if you want to get it, I'll just read it to you now. It's Eventbrite, and the title is Parent Christian, Are You Freaking Out Over Your Child's Digital Life? And you can subscribe, well, you'll register for that. It's repeated every single month, and it's available on Eventbrite, and you can get the link from Linktree/Jill Dares, and it's the first tab in there. So I'll spell that for you. It's linktr.ee/Jill Dares, and the first tab in there is your Eventbrite registration. And I look forward to seeing you first Saturday in June. Take care.